In 2012, I was burnout, fed up, completely not clear where I wanted to go, uninspired, and I was ready to give up as an entrepreneur. And in that year, I pulled back and I created what I now call my 5 non-negotiables. Those 5 non-negotiables are what led over the next 3 to 4 years to create Carrot, which is one of the fastest growing companies in America, 5 years in a row on the Inc. 5000 list, and really to build a business, a life that I was insanely proud of. It was a true transformation. So hold on this episode. I'm going to introduce you to those 5 non-negotiables that I hold dear today. And I'm going to walk you through how to make your own 5 non-negotiables as well. Hey y'all, I'm Trevor Mock, the CEO of Carrot.com, and over the years we've made over $50 million in revenue with this one business, a software company. I own several other companies as well. Now, all of that would not have been possible if it wasn't for what I'm going to teach you today. Okay. Like I said in the intro of this video, of this podcast, Carrot is probably my 3rd or 4th company. And a couple companies failed early on. So it is okay to fail, y'all. Don't worry about it. It's part of the journey. But one of the companies, it didn't fail. It made good revenue. It was my primary income from 2008 through 2012. We'd brought in several $1 million in revenue during that time period, myself and my business partner. But I felt stuck. I was waking up and there were all these decisions that needed to come to me. There was, do we go in this direction? Do we make this product? Do I hire this person? What do we do here? I started to invest in multiple companies. I invested in a company called callloop.com. I invested in another company called Automize that I started to do work in. Automize failed. We've talked about it on the podcast before. And CallLoop at that time, I thought was going to fail too. Fast forward, it's wildly successful, has transitioned to another company called salesmessage.com. And the reason I say this is during that time period, I didn't know how to make the decisions. I didn't have filtering mechanism to guide all these business and life decisions through to really make sure that I was building with intention. I was designing with intention the business and life that I wanted. I ended up building a business that wasn't what I wanted, that was making good money, but draining my energy. I had money in the bank, but no energy in the tank. It was a business that I saw some vision for that year, but man, I didn't see vision for the long term. And when you don't have vision for the long term, it's not exciting. You start to not want to do the work that you have lined out for that day or for that week or that month. Okay. So I remember vividly this 2012 when I was sitting there, I needed to make a decision. I needed to say, okay, enough is enough. I remember Tony Robbins, he said this many times. He says, oftentimes we won't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Okay, oftentimes we won't change. We won't do the things required to change unless the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And I'd finally hit that spot after 3 to 4 years where the pain of staying the same was like, I can't do this. I can't stay No, it can't happen anymore. Okay. And so I was looking at the options and I was saying, okay, I've got these 5 or 6 businesses all doing kind of mediocre right now, all draining my energy, just scattered everywhere. I didn't know what I needed to be doing on a daily basis, but I was making okay money. And I said, okay, I need to start to get rid of some of these. I talked about a book in this podcast called The Pumpkin Plan recently. So go check out that episode. And in the Pumpkin Plan, it really talks about trimming down all of the things except for the one big pumpkin, the one big thing that can grow, like ruthlessly trimming everything off of those vines so all those nutrients can go to that one thing. And in that time, I had 5 or 6 or 7 things. So all my energy, all the nutrients, all the thought process was going into all these different things, spreading it thin. So that was the first thing. I said, okay, I need to get more focused. I need to focus on one thing. Okay. And I trimmed down my businesses from the 5 or 6 down to 2 within that 12-month period. The challenge that happened during that period, though, while I did trim things down and it got me some more focus, I still didn't know what the future was going to look like. And so I sat there and did all that I knew how to do at that time. I wrote down all the things I didn't like. I wrote down all the things that I'm not liking about my business, even about my life at that time. I had a big old list of things. Okay, it might have been 10, 15 things. Some of those things that I wrote down at that time was, man, I do not like that my income is boom and bust. We make $130,000 one month, and then we make $4,000 the next month. The split profit-wise between my business partner and I. I didn't like that. At the end of the year, my tax statement showed I made some good money, but man, I was stressed every single month during the year because I didn't know where the income was going to come from next month. Okay. Another thing was, man, I felt a split focus. I wasn't excited about one big thing. I had all these different things going on. Other things that were popping up. It's like, man, I'm building this business, but what if I don't want to do this business in a year or two? What if I have another business in the future? I don't want to build a business for 2, 3, 4 years, get tired of it, and then leave it and not have an asset that I could sell or not have something that I built of value, right? That business that we had, I didn't really have any real value there. Now, when I sold my 50% of that company, where my net profit was over $200,000 a year, I sold it for $60,000. Because with me pulling away from that business, it was worth far less because I ran so much of it. And it didn't have the IP. It didn't have the value. I had built something for 4 years that was just an income stream. It was transactional income. It wasn't anything for the long term. And that sucked. I did not like that feeling. Okay. It's almost like building a straw house versus a strong brick house. You're doing all this work to build this thing, but then one big wind can come up and all of your work is gone. Like you don't have anything to show for it. You just got to build another house. Right. Another thing that popped up was, man, I wasn't having fun at that time. I was doing work. I was proud of our products. Love my business partner. We're still amazing friends today. We have a mastermind that we get together. We've been doing it for 15 years, every year since, with about the same 7 or 8 guys that we've grown together. Everybody in that group now owns 8-figure companies, where all of us at that time owned low 6-figure companies and mid 6-figure companies. Okay. We were having a lot of fun. And so, man, this just isn't fun. I want to do things that charge me up. I want to do things that give me energy that I believe in. Another thing that was on my list, I'm like, man, I'm doing a lot of stuff that just drains my energy. I might be pretty good at them, but I don't like them. I have to, it's like pulling teeth for me to do that work. Okay. And so as I was diving into that journey and just really asking those hard questions of like, what are the things I don't like? Then it dawned on me, I go, okay, at least I got it on paper. I got on paper the things I don't like, because you can't change things until we recognize what we want to change. You can't change things until we recognize what we want to change. So I recognized it, but I didn't know what to do. So I remember from a book that I had read, I can't remember what book it is now, but I remember this thought that they said, oftentimes to find what you do want, recognize what you don't want, and then just pick the opposite of that. So to find what you do want, which that's what I was struggling with, is like, I know what I don't want, but I don't really know what I do want. I looked at that list of things I didn't like. I prioritized the ones that were the biggest deal to me. I'm like, okay, these 4, 5, or 6, these are the big deals for me. These are the ones I just really don't want to have a part of any business that I'm ever a part of ever again in the future. These things can't happen anymore. Okay. And there ended up being 5 of them. And then the next thing, I took that advice and said, well, let me write them on the paper and let me pick the opposite of those. Because I'm always a big believer. And when we're setting intention or we're setting vision, don't set negative vision. Don't set negative intention. Okay. Negative vision, negative intention is saying, I don't want X. My youngest daughter, she just turned 10 years old, a few days ago. And she's a little firecracker. She's our firecracker out of our 3. And still today, I'll have this conversation with her. And I've been having it with her for years. We'll go in there for breakfast, right? And breakfast is breakfast. So, making eggs or making whatever we're having cereal that day. And then she comes in. My other children are eating just fine. And she goes, well, I don't want this. I said, okay, got it. And I said, well, what do you want? Well, she goes, well, I don't want this either. And I really don't want this either. I'm like, okay, Sydney, I got it. I now I know what you don't want. But here's the thing, Sydney. You have almost a 0% chance of getting what you actually want unless you say what you want. You have to say what you want. You can't just talk about what you don't want. And so that's something that we continually drill into our kids, like speak into the positive future. You can recognize what you don't want, but when you're speaking intention, you speak for what you do want. You get clear on what you do want. And so in that moment, I thought, okay, I can't just dwell on these things that I don't want, because if I think about what I don't want all the time, I'm going to get more of what I don't want. Okay. What you get is what you think about. What you get is what you focus on. Okay. And so I said, what are the opposites of this? So as I go through this created my 5 non-negotiables. I'm going to walk you through what my 5 non-negotiables are, today. Okay. The first thing is my income was up and down. Like I said, I go, number 1, I want to gain freedom from my business. I cannot get freedom with my business if the income is all over the map. Non-negotiable number 1, consistent, predictable income. Okay. And that's non-negotiable for any business I ever build. All of my real estate that I buy, guys, I don't flip and wholesale. No reason for that other than I put my money into things that give me consistent, repeatable, predictable income that I can plan on 6 months out, 12 months out, 18 months out with confidence. Okay, that's for me. What I do for me. My software company, one of the reasons I started Carrot and went into the software world is because one of my investments, Automize and Call Loop, those two investments are both software companies. And I saw, oh my gosh, look at this money, this revenue that just comes in every month. Now we got to work hard for it. We got to build an amazing product for it, but it just comes in. I can plan well. It gives me freedom. So non-negotiable number one, consistent, predictable income. Okay. Non-negotiable number two was have fun. And really make a big difference. Okay. I'm going, okay. I don't like that we're not having fun in this business. I'm not really clear that we're making a big difference. So that one was bam, have fun and make a big difference. Okay. Number three, non-negotiable, was I wanted to get focused on things. No longer did I want to have 4, 5, 6, 7 focuses where I was running multiple things. I thought I was Richard Branson, but what I didn't recognize at that time is Richard Branson doesn't run any of his companies. He owns the companies. He puts amazing leaders in with the guidance and the resource to make it happen. And I think a lot of us get tricked into that serial entrepreneur mindset, thinking that we can own 4, 5, 6 companies and do well on them. You can if you don't run them. But I ran all these companies. So I put, have one big focus in, or work on one big thing that I believe in at my core. Okay. That's the third non-negotiable. Work on one big thing that I believe on at my core. As I moved out of that world of having 4, 5, 6 businesses, I said, for the next decade of my life, I'm going to pick one thing and I'm going to build it for 10 years. I'd never done that in my life up to that point. I'd always had 4, 5, or 6 things and I worked on them for 2, 3, 4 years. I thought, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm just going to start a new thing. It took me about 18 months to figure out what that one thing was. I had to plant a bunch of seeds. I had to water those seeds. I had to see the vines sprout, and I had to look and see where the pumpkins were growing. And I saw the opportunity over here. I cut all the rest of the vines. I started trimming everything off that vine, focused on that one pumpkin, and that pumpkin became Carrot. Focused on the one big thing I believe in at my core. Okay. So those last two non-negotiables really jumped out for me, that I needed to focus on the things that give me energy. Once again, so much of my work up to that point, that last couple of years, drained my energy. It was stuff that I got paid well for, but it just drained my tank, right? And so I wrote down in there, I want to live on purpose and work within my unique abilities. Because there were 2 or 3 things I did not like that were like, these cannot happen anymore. That were, man, my energy is getting drained. I don't like this work. I don't want to wake up in the morning to do this work. I said, you know what? The work that I do needs to align with me living on purpose, doing the things I love to do, making the impact I want to make, and working within my unique abilities, the things that give me more energy when I'm done doing them than when I started doing them, and I contribute to the world. So this right here, being able to kind of transition and pass off any knowledge I've gained, this stuff gives me energy. This is the stuff that is within that unique ability bucket for me. Okay. The last non-negotiable was I had these challenges over here on this side that I didn't like. Once again, that I was building businesses that were those straw homes, right? That I would be building, you'd work hard, but then that wind comes down, blows it over, and you have nothing to show for. I don't have an asset to sell. I don't have anything that I built. I built an income, but not an asset or value. So I wrote down, build a long-term valuable asset. Okay, I wanted to make sure that whatever I was going to be working on in the future was building for something in the future, was building value, was building an asset that could be sold, that could be leveraged to give equity into amazing team members if I wanted to step out and really elevate amazing people, whatever it is. Okay, so I'll kind of recite those 5 non-negotiables. Then I'm going to walk through and challenge you to create your own. Okay, those 5 non-negotiables were the opposites of the things I didn't want the most in my businesses and life up to that point. I wanted to focus on one big thing that I believed in at my core, that I loved what we were doing. I loved the vision, but one big thing, not 6 different businesses. I wanted predictable, consistent income. Every business from that point on in 2012 had to have major focus and had to have consistent, predictable income as the core of the revenue model. Okay, no business that I own today is based off of a revenue model that doesn't generate consistent, predictable income. Not one business. Okay, I wanted to have it be fun and make a difference. When I started Carrot, we said from the ground up, like, how do we make this brand fun? How do we make it something that is enjoyable, that's memorable? And through a strike of just lightning one night, I came up with the company name Carrot. Carrot is like you're dangling this carrot in front of your prospect. That's what your website should be. It should be a carrot. It shouldn't just be a brochure. Then we go, oh my gosh, we can have so much fun with this. We sent out thousands of stuffed dolls, stuffed carrot animals like the ones that we've got behind me. We've sent out tons of cool things in the mail, t-shirts. We have all kinds of amazing swag. We have fun in the business. We have fun at our live events, our Carrot Camp events, our epic intensive events. I want to make the business fun. Okay. And then, want to make sure that we're building a long-term valuable asset. Once again, when I was looking at the next businesses to create, it was going, okay, what can create money now that's predictable, that we can plan and we can model? And my gauge for that was I wanted to know within a 10% variance, what my income would be 6 months out at all times. Okay. I wanted to be able to know within a 10% variance, a 90% confidence level, what my income would be at least 6 months out at all times. With software, with rental properties, with so many other businesses, you can do that. And it buys freedom, it buys peace of mind. And then the last thing, once again, guys, is live on purpose within my unique abilities. That set of non-negotiables fired me up. I had those on my desk. I had those in my office. I have them on my computer desktop still today. I've shared them many times over the years. They're still the same non-negotiables today. I have not changed them. And every business that I start or every major business decision I make, I go back and look at those non-negotiables. I say, okay, does this fit those non-negotiables? Does it generate consistent, predictable revenue? Is it building a long-term valuable asset? Am I living on purpose and using my unique abilities within this business? If not, if it's draining my energy, even if it's consistent, predictable income, I don't want it. Okay, do I have a singular focus on this big thing at the moment that I'm driving that business forward? Am I able to have fun in the business with a big mission, a real mission versus just making money? And once again, am I building that valuable asset? Every business decision, I try to filter through those. Now, I don't nail it all the time. Some of them I miss. Some of them I recognize later that business decision kind of didn't align with those non-negotiables. And almost every time, if not every time that happens, things happen in my life and my business I don't like. I go back to going, oh man, there's that thing again. I don't like that in my business or life. I need to live towards that non-negotiable again. Okay. So here's the challenge and here's the homework for you. I want you to take out a piece of paper. I did this on my iPad even earlier today. I want you to write three columns. Okay. Column number 1 is things that you don't love about your business or life today. Okay. Column number 2 is I want you just to prioritize, write your top 5 to 6, rank them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 5 to 6 biggest things that you don't want to repeat in any business ever in the future. They're like, man, these are the biggies. Okay. I don't want these to happen anymore in my business. They just got to be gone. Okay. Prioritize them. And then on the right of that, I want you to write the opposite of that thing. Okay. If you have one that is something related to, oh my gosh, I cannot pick the wrong business partner ever again. I've picked 4 business partners, the bad business partners, they were nightmares. I just can't have a bad business partner again. If you feel that's crazy important, one of your top, on the other side of it, you might say the positive of work with people that inspire me, challenge me, and are honest and ethical, or find amazing game-changing partners who make me better and I make them better. Okay. Things like that. Okay. Do your top 5, top 6, have those, take them, print them out, write them out, put them wherever you need to put them on your phone, put them on your desktop, on your computer, put them in your presentations, whatever you need to do, put them everywhere. So you can make sure that you have those non-negotiables in front of you when you need them, when you're making those big decisions, to make sure that you're guiding yourself towards the business of your dreams, the business that you want, and avoiding that business that you don't want. All right, guys, hopefully that made sense to you. Craft those non-negotiables. Those are, I wouldn't say single-handedly, but those massively contributed to giving me the momentum in 2012 that helped me grow that next year and a half to get focus on what I wanted to build. That one singular focus, to build a fun company that had a big mission, to build a company on consistent, predictable revenue, to live within my unique abilities and start to do podcasts and start to do the things I like to do the most, and to really focus on that one big thing, y'all. If you look at Carrot today, if you look at Carrot over the years, that is a direct product of those 5 non-negotiables. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast, enjoying the YouTube channel. If you guys are on the podcast but not on YouTube yet, head over to YouTube, subscribe, check out the video version of these bad boys. If you're on YouTube but not the podcast, you want to listen on the go, check it out. And I want to encourage you today, share this up with one person that you know that needs to hear this, with that entrepreneur that you might see struggling, that person that you see is having challenges. Share it up with them. And I'm gonna challenge you guys in this as well, is leave a comment below here on YouTube or find me on Instagram and hit me with a DM on what are your 5 non-negotiables. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing on this. I want you guys to not be librarians, just sucking the information and not doing anything with it. I want you to step into taking action on it. So what are your 5 non-negotiables that you're going to lock in place and move forward with? All right, subscribe. We'll see you next time.